Hi everyone, today we're going to be talking about my 5 favorite winter perfumes. I am so excited to be sharing these with you. I kind of talked about perfumes a little bit in my Sephora VIB sale recommendations video, and that sort of like, I don't know, kind of like awoke a passion for talking about fragrances again. I've done a couple fragrance videos in the past, but not too many. And I also hauled one fragrance that's appearing in this list during the Sephora VIB sale. So it is fairly new, but I have fallen completely in love with it, madly in love with it, and it is one of the most perfect winter perfumes I have ever smelled. So anyway, before we get into it, I just wanted to let you know that I'll be sharing a lot of other different types of content over on my blog, which is themichelewang.com. I'll flash it up here on the screen. I'll put a link to it down below in my description box. But most importantly, definitely sign up for the newsletter if you want to be informed of new blog posts, if you want kind of like a weekly, I'm hoping to send out a newsletter on a weekly basis, just to let you know if new videos have come up on YouTube and some other things that are kind of going on up here. So anyway, definitely subscribe to that newsletter if you're interested. Yeah, let's go ahead and jump into my 5 favorite winter perfumes. One is actually fairly new and also a big reason behind this video, and it's one that I picked up during the Sephora sale. It is the Rose Oud by Kilian. And I never thought I was a really big rose fragrance fan, but going through my collection, I have a lot of rose fragrances and they're all really, really different. And some are light and fresh. Some kind of invoke this sense of you're walking through a rose garden outside. It's a beautiful spring or summer day. The sun is shining in the sky. Not this one. This one is definitely a deeper, darker, sexier kind of rose fragrance. And when I close my eyes, I definitely do not picture myself outside. This is definitely more of, yeah, just kind of like a dark bar kind of fragrance. It reminds me, in the sense of its essence, it reminds me a lot of Portrait of a Lady from Frederic Malle. And I would have to describe this scent as velvet in a bottle, like black or very, very deep red kind of velvet in a bottle. So I've pulled up a site, Fragrantica, you guys have probably referred to this site as well, where they talk about the notes and everything. So let me just read off the fragrance notes for this. So tincture of rose, agar wood, which is oud, saffron, and guaiac wood. I love, love, love the fragrance of saffron. I can't say that I smell the saffron too much. This is very, very rose at the top and oud at the bottom, and I want to call it just 50-50. It is a very rose and oud, well balanced kind of fragrance. But the rose in here is a very deep, dark, sultry kind of rose. Again, not like a pretty kind of wild rose bush. This is those long stemmed red roses. And I think because of that deepness, this is kind of a fragrance that I like for the winter time, because a lot of my other rose fragrances, like I was just saying, those are more like spring, summer fragrances. But this is definitely, yeah, more sensual kind of fragrance. So that is the Rose Oud from Kilian. And like I said, I just picked this up at the Sephora sale, and I am really, really in love with it. I like it more than I thought. I mean, I thought I would like it, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't have picked it up, but I like it a lot more than I thought I would. So I'm very pleased by that. Number 2 is a fragrance I just mentioned because the kind of depth and sensuality of the Rose Oud reminds me of this Frederic Malle Portrait of a Lady. So this is number 2 on my list. This fragrance reminds me of just a dark, smoky, underground kind of bar. There's some people around the bar smoking cigarettes out of those long cigarette holders. It has like a film noir kind of sensibility to it. And I have to thank Stephanie Windsor for recommending this fragrance to me, because when I read the description of this before I ordered it, I was like, I don't know if that's for me. And she was like, trust me, just try it. And if you don't like it, I'll buy it off of you. I was like, all right, I'll try it. And I love it. I have thanked her ever since for this. So Stephanie, thank you so much for this recommendation. And actually, she's recommended another one that I have in this list. So anyway, Stephanie, keep the recommendations coming. But Portrait of a Lady, it does have a very strong rose note in there. Let me go ahead and read off the notes here. So we've got rose, clove, raspberry, blackcurrant, and cinnamon as the top notes. The mid notes are patchouli, incense, and sandalwood, and the base notes are musk, benzoin, and amber. So this is much more complex, a little bit more layered than the Rose Oud, which I feel like is just a very like rose and oud kind of fragrance. This has so many different notes that I think it's going to smell or sort of evolve as you wear it. And it definitely is one of those fragrances where I feel like you'll smell the top notes first, and then as the day goes on, the base notes start to really come up and warm up and everything. And it becomes much muskier and deeper. I would say a lot of these fragrances, because again, they remind me of winter and they're so kind of warm and sensual and deep and dark. A lot of these are like third date fragrances, if you catch my drift. So Portrait of a Lady is just incredibly sexy. So had to mention that. And then let's go ahead and talk about the other fragrance that Stephanie Windsor actually recommended to me. And this is the Oud for Greatness by Initio. So here is this bottle. It just reminds me of like a pirate. I don't know why. Maybe because that eye in the center kind of looks like a compass. It's black and gold. I don't know. It reminds me of a pirate. Anyway, this is actually the fragrance that I have on today. And this is just a really kind of a fun, warm, sweet kind of fragrance. So according to Fragrantica.com, the top notes are saffron, nutmeg, and lavender, which I'm not a fan of. And I mentioned that to Stephanie. And again, she was like, I think you'll really love it. And if you don't, I will purchase it off of you. So I ordered this off of her recommendation, and she was so right. The middle notes, agar wood, oud, and base notes, patchouli and musk. So, I mean, oud for greatness. So you know it's going to have that kind of woody kind of oud smell, but I think it must be like the saffron and the nutmeg together, maybe even the lavender too, where it makes me think that there's some sort of like tobacco note in here, because you have that kind of slightly sweet, slightly sour kind of top note, a little bit acidic, and then the base notes in here are actually very, very faint. I feel like I smell the top notes and the mid notes the most, even throughout the wear, even throughout the dry down. And I really, really love it. I just love, love, love saffron, nutmeg. I mean, who doesn't love that? It kind of smells like a kitchen, but I love this fragrance. It's really, really, I don't know, to me, it's very joyful. Like when I smell this, I'm really, really happy. Like it just puts a smile on my face, puts a twinkle in my eye. I would say it's a little bit less kind of like dark and sexy compared to the other ones that I'm talking about. This one is a little bit friendlier, it's a little bit funner, it's a little bit more joyful, it's a little bit happier. And I really love this one. And I feel like sometimes when I catch like different whiffs of it, it just kind of reminds me of a men's cologne. So I would say that this one is very unisex, but it's just lovely. I just really, really like it. So that is the Oud for Greatness by Initio. And I should talk about the longevity. All of the fragrances I'm talking about today have a very, very long wear time. None of them fade that quickly. I would say if you put it on in the morning one day after you shower and you don't shower and you wake up the next morning, you will still smell it for sure. Not even just faintly, like you will still smell it. I definitely do for all of these that I'm going to be talking about. Okay, so that is number 3 on my favorite winter perfumes list. Number 4 is one you have definitely heard me talk about. I love this one, and I love the candle for this one as well. This is the Harmonist Hypnotizing Fire. This is, I think, the first time I used the term third date perfume, because this is very sexy. It is very smoky. It is very, very seductive. And there is a little bit of sweetness there, like just a little bit, just to kind of like bring you in. And then it's like this gourmand, smoky, actually, let me pull up the notes. Okay, so the top note, pimento, very spicy. Mid note is Bulgarian rose, which I don't, maybe a little bit. I feel like that's the faintest note out of all of this. The base notes, Madagascar vanilla, Indonesian patchouli leaf, and Apopanox. And that combination, those base notes are incredible because the vanilla just kind of warms up everything and kind of rounds everything out. The pimento, that top note, really gives it that kind of like kick. But I think the Apopanox is what gives it like that smokiness. This is so incredible. It is really, the name for this, the Hypnotizing Fire, is perfect. I mean, I remember when I first got this candle and then I got this perfume, I would just hold a candle up underneath my nose and just breathe it in. It is so incredible. And in fact, I finished that candle. I need to order another one for this winter season because it is so perfect. It is so, so perfect because it's not overly sweet. It's not overly like that gourmand, like cocoa, cinnamon, vanilla. It's not too much of that. It's just a little hint of that vanilla. Oh, incredible. Hypnotizing Fire, highly, highly recommend. And then I had a really hard time picking number 5. I was actually going between the Tom Ford Tuscan Leather and this one that I'm going to talk about. But because I talked about the Tom Ford, the Tuscan Leather, and I actually recommended the Tobacco Vanille and the Ombre Leather during the Sephora VIB sale, I feel like I just talked about those. So I wanted to just mention like a different product that I really enjoy. So I went with the Gris Dior, Christian Dior, and the Tuscan Leather is you know, kind of similar to the other ones I talked about because it has that kind of like dark, deep, sort of like wood-burning fireplace. It has that kind of like feel to it. And I wanted to share a winter fragrance that isn't so much like an indoor fireplace situation where it's more of an outdoor winter. I don't think I'm making any sense. But the Gris Dior just reminds me of like a cool day, snow on like tree branches like that. It has a much, much crisper kind of feeling to it versus these other ones that I was talking about. So that's why I wanted to talk about this versus the Tom Ford Tuscan Leather, because like I said, that one's very similar to these other ones. And this one just reminds me of like a very cold winter's morning. This one is also, I would say, very unisex. And I definitely have to look up the notes for this one because it just smells like a perfume. I really don't know what the notes are. So let me look them up. So we've got, wow, pretty much a little bit of everything. Rose, oak moss, patchouli, bergamot, which is like citrus, cedar, amber, and sandalwood. So I definitely smell the patchouli, the cedar, the amber, the sandalwood, but maybe it's the bergamot, the oak moss, the rose that gives it that kind of like lighter, crisper, whiter kind of flash. Yeah, because it's not that heavy. This is not like a heavy fragrance. It's just a very like clean kind of fragrance. I love this one. So Gris Dior is definitely one that I like kind of like in the dead of winter when things are just sort of like frozen over. I feel like this is that a terrible description? I don't mean it to be because I love winter, but I think of the Gris Dior perfume. And that is it. Those are my 5 winter picks. I do feel like I'm going to be wearing these 5 perfumes a lot during the next few months, especially this Initio, well, Hypnotizing Fire, all of these. What am I saying? I love all 5 of these. Let me know what some of your favorite winter fragrances are down below in the comment section. I would love to hear, especially ones that I haven't tried. I have tried a lot, but ones that I have not tried, I would love to hear from you. And give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe down below if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video.